Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Crocios here, back again, bringing you yet another excruciatingly basic Classic WoW guide. This time, I wanted to go over the different races that are available to play in the game. There are 8 different races, 4 for each faction. And I'm just gonna touch briefly on each one and quickly talk about the racials that each one has. So, hopefully getting a look at each one of the races, in addition to the information I gave in my last video about classes, really helps new players get a grasp on what they want to play, because Classic WoW releases tomorrow. Less than 24 hours, and it is so exciting. So, let's get to it. The Orcs. Orcs originally are from the planet Draenor. They were used by the Burning Legion in an attempt to conquer Azeroth and broke free of the control. They take up residence in Durotar and live in their capital city of Orgrimmar. Their racials include axe specialization, which increases their skill with axes and two-handed axes by 5. They have Blood Fury, which increases their base melee attack power by 25% for 15 seconds, but reduces the healing effects by 50% for 25 seconds. They also have Command, which increases the amount of damage done by Hunter and Warlock pets. Hardiness, which gives them a chance to resist stun effects by an additional 25%, and they can be warriors, hunters, rogues, shamans, and warlocks. Taurens. Taurens have been longtime residents of Kalimdor. They live in tribal-like societies, and they have a very deep love for nature. They start off in Mulgore with their city of Thunderbluff, which is set atop high bluffs and is only accessible by teleporting to it or going up these large elevators that are located on the southwest and northeastern sides. Their racials include Cultivation, which increases herbalism by 15, Endurance, which increases their total health by 5, War Stomp, which stuns up to 5 enemies within 8 yards for 2 seconds, Nature Resistance, which increases nature resistance by 10, and they can be druids, hunters, warriors, and shamans. Trolls. There are lots of different tribes of trolls throughout Azeroth, but the only ones who have outright given their allegiance to the Horde are the trolls of the Darkspear tribe. After being driven from their home, they took up residence with the Orcs in Durotar, and now take up residence in Orgrimmar as well. Their racials include Beast Slaying, which increases damage against beasts by 5%, Berserking, which increases casting and attack speed by 10 to 30% based on your amount of health that you currently have, Bow Specialization, increases bow weapon skills by 5, Regeneration, which increases health regeneration by 10%, and also 10% of that total health regeneration can continue while you're in combat. An increased throwing specialization, throwing weapons, and they can be hunters, mages, rogues, shamans, warriors, and priests. Now the Undead. When the Lich King's control began to weaken, a small group of undead broke away from his control and began to call themselves the Forsaken, under the leadership of Sylvanas. They hide themselves in the Tearsfall Glades beneath the ruins of the former capital of Lordaeron, known as the Undercity. Their racials include Cannibalize, which regenerates 7% of your total health every 2 seconds for 10 seconds, but only works when you have a humanoid or undead corpse within 5 yards, and moving damage will cancel it. Shadow resistance, which increases shadow resistance by 10. Underwater breathing, which allows them to breathe underwater for 300% longer than other races. Will of the Forsaken, which provides immunity to charms, fears, and sleeps, and may also be used if you're already afflicted by one, and lasts 5 seconds. And they can be mages, rogues, warlocks, priests, and warriors. Now let's head over to the Alliance side. Dwarves! Not a lot to say about the dwarves. They live in the icy cold conditions of Dunmorrow in their great city of Ironforge, and they like to get hammered. Their racial abilities include finding treasure, which allows them to see nearby treasure on the mini-map. They get increased frost resistance by 10. Gun specialization, increasing their gun skills by 5. Stone form, which gives them immunity to bleeds, poisons, and disease effects. In addition, increases their armor by 10% for 8 seconds. And they can be hunters, paladins, priests, rogues, and warriors. Gnomes! The Gnomes lost their home city of Nomergon, so now they take up residence along the mighty dwarves. When in Ironforge, Gnomes get increased arcane resistance by 10, expansive mind, which increases their intelligence by 5%. They get their engineering skill increased by 15%. And they also have Escape Artist, which allows them to escape the effects of any immobilization or movement speed reduction effects. They can play as rogues, warlocks, warriors, and mages. Humans. Humans begin their journey in the lush forests of Elwyn. Their city, Stormwind, is a mighty stronghold. However, they have allowed the surrounding zones that they control to fall into discord. They get diplomacy, which increases their reputation gains by 10%. They get mace and sword specialization, increasing their skills with one- and two-handed swords and maces by 5. They get the human spirit, which increases their spirit by 5%. And they can be rogues, paladins, mages, priests, warriors, and warlocks. And the final race we have to talk about are the Night Elves. Night Elves live off the coast of Kalimdor on their tree known as Teldrassil. Their racials include nature resistance, giving them plus 10 nature resistance. Wisp Spirit, which transforms them into a wisp when they die, which increases their movement speed by 50%. Quickness, which increases their dodge chance by 1%. And Shadow Meld, which basically makes them stealth while standing still. And when they move or would take damage, then the stealth breaks. And also, Night Elf rogues and druids who have Shadow Meld are even more difficult to detect when they're using their own stealth or prowling effects. And they can be, of course, rogues and druids, but they can also be hunters, warriors, and priests. And if you're playing on a priest, you'll get 2 additional racial abilities, and those are dependent on what races you pick. But I hope you all really enjoyed me going over the 8 different playable races in Classic WoW. Again, I am super excited because it's been over 10 years and we are finally gonna return home. And I really hope to see you all there. So, Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.